A postcard arrived for me, just a single leaf in an envelope. It was an announcement of a wedding. Pasted on it was a small photograph. In it, my childhood friend, called Emily, was dressed in a wedding gown, and her new husband, Mike, was in a tuxedo. Well, I guess that figures. Honestly, hearing that those two got hitched didn't surprise me one bit. But there was a line written on that postcard that really got under my skin. Sorry for stealing the next CEO hubby. With this, I'm set for life. Good luck with your struggles. I tore that postcard into pieces, very slowly, very deliberately. Yet, when I read that line, along with the irritation, a laugh bubbled up inside me. Alone in my house, I laughed out loud. Then, I picked up my cell and called Mike's workplace. Hello? I heard the voice. It was the company's CEO's. It's me, Sophie. Well, Mike here, my ex, just got married to another woman. So, you can go ahead and fire him, that's fine by me. After saying that, I hung up the phone. Later on, a completely changed Mike came to my house. He banged on the door, yelling loudly. My name is Sophie. I'm a 28-year-old office worker at a major company, and it's been half a year since I got married. I've been with Mike since our junior year in college, so we've been together for roughly 7 years. So, even though we're newlyweds, we don't really feel that freshness or novelty anymore. But now, we understand each other well and seem to be doing fine as a comfortable couple. I have an older brother who is quite a few years my senior. His name is Ethan, and he has always been an honor student with great academic achievements. Ever since we were little, he has been very fond of me. It wouldn't be an exaggeration to say that I was doted on. Because of that, my brother was the most resistant when I said I was marrying Mike. But seeing how Mike and I got along so well as a couple, he finally nodded in agreement. Though he didn't seem fully convinced. I also have a childhood friend who's a girl. Her name is Emily, and she's always been clingy since we were little. Even when she was just a little girl, she already had a cute appearance and was very fragile looking. Even as a girl myself, I felt like I wanted to protect her until she reached middle school. But she has a dual nature. The face she showed to me and the other girls, and the face she showed to adults and boys. They were different. In a nutshell, she was a girl with a facade, a bit of an actress. Despite her delicate appearance, she was extremely greedy and self-centered. She wasn't satisfied unless she was the number one in everything. She couldn't feel satisfied until she had everything she wanted. Because of her such nature, ever since she was young, she would steal other people's things or destroy them out of jealousy. But boys, they didn't know this side of her. They only saw the neat and cute girl she pretended to be. Because of that, the hearts of the boys I liked since middle school all turned towards Emily. Everything I had, everyone I liked. The things Emily has taken from me over the years are too numerous to count on both hands. Yet, the reason I didn't suffer from the pain was that I had my loving parents and my brother, Ethan, who always cherished me. I was grateful to be blessed with such a family at that time. When I went off to college, I left my hometown and grew apart from Emily. Then, in my new place of learning, I met Mike, and after dating for 7 years, we got married. However, Mike and I didn't have much money back then, so we only registered our marriage and didn't have a wedding ceremony. His parents didn't take too kindly to that. And even after we got married, I haven't gotten along too well with Mike's parents. That's been a worry of mine. One time, I was out shopping with Mike. That's when we unexpectedly ran into someone. Well, if it isn't Sophie. It's been a while. It was Emily, who had become quite beautiful. Emily. It's been a long time. But what are you doing here? I'm working around here now, living on my own. And, who might this be? This is my husband. We got married 6 months ago. No way. Why didn't you tell me? I feel a little hurt, like I've been left out. Left out. No, it's not like that. There just wasn't a chance to tell you. She hasn't changed much since the old days. No, perhaps she has become a bit sharper with her words because she's gained some knowledge. Anyway, now that we've run into each other, why don't we go grab some food together? Sorry, we're actually in the middle of something right now. Come on, it's no big deal. As long as your husband doesn't mind, it's fine. I don't mind at all. Mike. Dinner I wasn't quite looking forward to. To be honest, I wished he had just said no. In the end, we were swept up by Emily's pace and ended up having food at a nearby restaurant. But once the dinner started, Emily talked only to Mike. Moreover, he seemed to enjoy chatting with her, almost as if he had forgotten all about me. And then... oh dear, it looks like I've forgotten my wallet. Wait. You invited us to dinner without your purse? Couldn't help it. I thought I had it with me until just now. Is that so? Come on, Sophie. It happens to the best of us. We'll cover for her this time. Really? That's so sweet. Mike, you're such a gentleman. Ha. I wouldn't go that far. Honestly, watching the two of them converse wasn't the least bit enjoyable. It wasn't jealousy or disgust, it was more like a bad premonition. I mean, wouldn't most wives feel a bit on edge seeing their husband engaged in a happy chat with another woman? That kind of feeling. In the end, I was the one who had to pay from my wallet. And on our way home after parting ways with Emily. Man, I had no idea you had such a cute childhood friend. Why didn't you tell me about her sooner? I just didn't think it was necessary to bring it up. Oh, I wish you had. All the way home, he kept asking about Emily, grinning foolishly. Honestly, I started to feel sick answering his questions. And by that point, I had a dreadful feeling that the worst was yet to come. A few days passed. As much as I didn't want to admit it, it seemed my intuition was right. Since the day we met Emily, Mike started acting strangely from time to time. He began paying unusual attention to his cell phone notifications, which he never cared much about before. The sender was Emily. He also started coming home late under the pretense of working on weekends. And every time, he would return wearing a scent of perfume I didn't recognize. Despite all these signs of infidelity, he acted as if he was fooling me perfectly. With a bold face and an innocent demeanor. So, I decided to confront him. Hey. When you come home late, you always smell like perfume. Why is that? I get dragged to those kinds of places by my boss. It's not what I want, but it's all for the sake of moving up in the world. Nice try. And why have you become so obsessed with your notifications? Work's been piling up lately. I get messages about the nitty-gritty details and upcoming meetings, so I can't help but check. I see. But most of those messages are from Emily, right? Don't worry about it. I don't love, nor do I even think of loving, anyone but you, Sophie. He had a plausible explanation for everything. Frankly, I realized there was no point in asking him anything more. So I started gathering evidence of his infidelity. And the situation only worsened. Not only Mike, but I also began receiving more calls and texts. Somehow, my contact information had been shared without my knowledge. On top of that, she started coming over to our house frequently. Even though we were childhood friends, this is someone else's home. Despite that, she had her way with everything. Hey, Sophie. I'm in the mood for meatloaf today. But I've already planned the menu for today, and we don't have the ingredients. Oh, come on. Can't you just go out and get them? That's so unreasonable. Let's just do it since she asked. I'll even ask you myself, please. You too. Oh, and I'd love some ice cream for dessert. Might as well pick that up too. Emily, you're really something. Well, don't be like that, just go buy it for us. I'll pay for it with my allowance, he said, handing me $100 bill. In the end, I couldn't deal with them. Reluctantly, I went out to shop again. Days like this became more frequent. Honestly, I felt like I was being treated like a maid. And then one day, I finally fell out of love with him. It happened while I was cleaning up after dinner. Mike, aren't you like the next CEO of your company? That's so impressive. Ha. It's not that big of a deal. Just reaping the rewards of my hard work. You must have worked so hard. I'm in awe. I'm glad to hear you say that, Emily. They were having this conversation. I had no idea where she heard that he was going to be the CEO, but watching their exchange filled me with an immense feeling of revulsion. It was sudden. The man I hesitate to call my husband told me he wanted a divorce. Because he had fallen in love with Emily. Well, probably just enchanted by her like all the other men. I'm sorry to you. But this is just unrequited love on my part. We haven't even been intimate. Is that so? Fine by me. I can't stop how you feel now. Much obliged. He said that and handed me the divorce papers. They were almost completely filled out. All that was left was for me to sign my name. That was the situation. Without hesitation, I completed the document. What he said then was, "You never really loved me, did you?" He was trying to play the victim and justify the divorce. So I shot back. Any love would cool down after being flirted with by another woman like that. All he could say was, "Oh, really?" The apartment we lived in was the place I had been staying since before we got married, so now that the divorce was finalized, he needed to leave. I thought I'd at least help him pack up his things, but when I checked his room, everything was already packed. He must have been eager to leave. He left the house too quickly and too easily. A week later, I received a postcard. It announced a wedding. A small photo was attached. In it, Emily was wearing a wedding dress, and Mike was in a tuxedo. Well, I guess that was bound to happen. Honestly, I wasn't surprised at all to hear that those two got hitched. But one line on the postcard really got under my skin. "Sorry for stealing the next CEO hubby. With this, I'm set for life. Good luck with your struggles." I tore the postcard to shreds. But when I saw that line, along with the irritation, a laugh started to bubble up. Alone in the house, I let out a laugh. Then, I took out my cell phone and dialed Mike's workplace. "Hello?" A single word came through. It was the CEO of the company. "It's me, Sophie. After divorcing me, Mike left and married another woman. So, feel free to fire him." "Is that so?" "It's come to that." When no more responses came, I said, "Bye," and hung up. Ah, Mike. This is my little revenge. Please take it and let me know how your misfortune unfolds. That's what I thought with a refreshing feeling in my heart. Sometime later, Mike came to my house. And while banging on the front door, he was shouting, "Come out quickly. We need to talk." Who might this be? Unfortunately, I don't associate with anyone so uncouth. Don't play dumb. You haven't forgotten about me that quickly. What's the matter, Mike? Why are you raising your voice like that? You. I'm sorry, but I can't talk to you in your current state. Let's meet tomorrow at the diner where Mike, Emily, and I first ate together. If you don't want to, I'll just call the cops right now. Fine, just make sure you show up. You know what'll happen if you don't. With that, he left. Honestly, I think divorcing him was the right decision. If I had continued being his wife, he might have hurt me in his rage. The next day, I went to the diner during the busy hours, and there were Mike and Emily. With all these people around, they couldn't do anything rash. As soon as I sat down in front of them, Mike, with a scowl, asked me, "What did you do?" "What do you mean? You're still going to play ignorant? You must have said something to our boss." "I haven't said anything strange. Just that Mike and I are divorced." "Don't lie. That alone wouldn't get me fired from the company. There's something I forgot to mention. I work at the same company as Mike. We're in different departments, so we don't see each other during work. And I report directly to the CEO. Mike, I'm scared." Emily put on an exaggerated show of being frightened. Her eyes were even welling up with tears. What kind of farce was she playing for? "Mike. You seem to have forgotten something important." "What are you talking about?" At that moment, another man interjected. "Seems like you've forgotten. Has the heat of your anger finally fried your neurons and wiped your memory off?" "Who's there?" Mike looked in the direction of the voice. There stood my brother, Ethan, dressed sharply in a suit. And when he spotted the gold badge on Ethan's collar, Mike's face turned pale. "Ah. You are. I accepted your marriage to my sister with a heavy heart, and now turned out that you were such a pathetic man. Ethan said as he took a seat beside me. Emily blurted out. He's so cool, so cool. What are you saying, Emily? He is cool, isn't he? Sophie's brother. My brother laughed out loud at this. You're quite an amusing woman.
Yay!
I got called amusing. Ethan glanced at me with a twisted expression. She's nuts. I chose not to say anything. What do you want? It's nothing. I've heard the whole story from my sister. You've toyed with my sister. What she told you is a lie. Oh. And which part of her story is a lie? Our divorce happened because Sophie cheated. Emily and I haven't done anything wrong. Really now. And I haven't even mentioned what my sister told me, so how can you be so sure what I've heard? Well, that is... Ethan sighed as he watched Mike struggle for an excuse. Then he pulled several photos from his bag. I have an acquaintance, a detective with quite the knack for sniffing out infidelity, as keen as a police dog. And here are the photos he captured at the scene. Ethan spread about 10 photos across the table like playing cards. The pictures captured scenes that would make anyone's skin crawl. There were pictures of the two of them entering and then leaving a hotel while I was still married to him. Pictures of them kissing inside a car. Pictures of them embracing on the sidewalk. And there were several other pictures of situations that could not be denied as cheating. I couldn't help but mutter.
Ew.
That's gross. Then Emily, hearing me, laughed haughtily. What's the matter? Jealous? Poor thing. But next to her, Mike was frozen under my brother's glare. How long? How long have you been gathering evidence? About 6 months after you and my sister got married. I took the job because my sweet, sweet Sophie asked me to. That's all there is to it. So, you've been suspecting me all this time? Yes. When you bring home that many red flags, anyone would become paranoid. I really did love you, you know. It was an unbearable pain. Mike cursed under his breath. Playing the victim, huh? You probably hoped all along that this would happen, you witch. Shut up. You good for nothing. My brother snapped at him, drawing looks from nearby tables. But the divorce was decided a long time ago. We simply weren't compatible. Yes, that's it, a clash of personalities. That's what led to our divorce. I only started seeing Emily after that was settled. I started to feel sorry for him. I thought continuing this conversation would do no good for either of them. Mike. It's too late for excuses or sweet talk. I have nothing more to say to you. As for the emotional damages you've caused me, I'll be sure to bill you for them. With that, I stood up. Ethan stood up, matching my movements. At that moment, Mike and Emily exclaimed in anger, "What the heck? It's only fair, right? After all you've done, you didn't think you'd get off scot-free, did you? You might have been hoping for a different outcome, but too bad. That's cruel, so cruel, Sophie. You used to be so kind, always listening to everything I said." Emily said that and started to cry. A fake cry I'd seen too many times before. You've taken so much from me, Emily. That's not true. Emily wailed like a little girl making excuses. Next to her, Mike looked as if he was on the brink of despair. I've been fired from my job. I can't afford alimony. Starting to remember now? Why they were saying you'd be the next CEO. Because you were my husband. You had a place in the company because of me. What? Didn't you ever wonder why a nobody like you got fast-tracked for promotions? Huh. That's right, that was it. He must have forgotten, given all the power he had been given, that the CEO of the company he worked for was my father. And that by marrying me, he had a shot at becoming the successor. In reality, he was less competent than other employees. He got his position and treated people poorly, which is why he was looked down on by everyone else. But he was too full of himself to notice, strutting around like a peacock. A classic case of a person who borrows someone's authority. I made sure to tell him that. Mike's face turned beet red, and he started to tremble. Next to him, Emily, who had stopped her fake crying, stood with her mouth agape, muttering, "No way." Her face was pale. "You're responsible for the divorce. You should have known it would come to this. And even if we hadn't divorced, my father would never have made a man who couldn't work and wasn't respected CEO. By the way, he already knows about your affair." I told Mike. I couldn't bring myself to say anything more, so I left the place first. Behind me, I heard my brother's voice. "You've lost your seat at Dad's company for good. Better hope she can support you now." "That's impossible. I mean, I just quit my job to get married." "That's too bad." "Well, normally Sophie would be the one to say this, but she's too kind for her own good. She wouldn't say anything more to corner you guys. So I'll say it for her. Good luck with the poverty life." Concerned that staying at my current place might lead to trouble, I moved out and went back to my parents' house. A few days later, I started seeing Emily lurking around the house. It creeped me out, so I talked to my brother about it. "Don't worry, Sophie. She's after me." "After you, Ethan?" My brother went outside to talk to her. And I could hear their conversation. Excuse me. I fell for you at first sight at that time. So, me and you. What are you even talking about?" Your true colors showed with the whole Mike situation. You probably came after me because I'm a lawyer and somewhat better looking than average, right?" "No, that's not it. Enough already. I remember everything you did to Sophie since we were kids. The exclusion. Destroying her pencil case. The slander. The direct pranks. I haven't forgotten a single thing. After all that, why would you think I'd have any fondness for you?" "But I was just a kid." Excuses like "I was just a kid" don't cut it anymore once you're in middle school and high school. It's because of you that Sophie left home. Sorry, but I still hate you for that. Just give up. How can you say that? And don't you ever come around our family again. If you keep messing with us, I'll use all my connections and authority to crush your future." A voice like none I had ever heard before, terrifying. Like the growl of a predator. Then there was the sound of a bag dropping. Shortly after, my brother came back inside the house. That should keep her from coming anywhere near this house again. You always have such an unforgiving way with words. Well, maybe that's why I'm cut out for being a lawyer. By the way, I heard Mike came to you wanting to get back together?
Yeah.
But I turned him down. I've had enough of falling for someone. Gotcha. Take some time to rest up at home for a while. Let me know if you need anything. I'll take care of any errand or task. Thank you. Ethan. Ethan gave me a smile. One of those really kind ones he doesn't even show our parents. It always gave me a sense of security. Somehow, Emily's story became known around the neighborhood. Neither my dad nor my brother said they knew anything about it. But when I asked my mom, she said, "Oh dear, how clumsy of me. I just let it slip out while chatting with that gossip-loving lady the other day." And before you know it, the story had gotten all blown out of proportion around the neighborhood. She's quite the villain now, isn't she? I couldn't help but mutter mother. With what was probably a cold look on my face. She loves to talk. Sometimes letting things slip. I always worry she might accidentally reveal company secrets, but so far, she's kept everything to herself. She may seem a bit scatterbrained at times, but she knows when to tighten up. For a moment, I wondered if her slip-up was actually calculated, and it gave me a bit of a scare. After a while, I heard from an old classmate. She sympathized with what I had gone through. At that moment, I had a sudden thought. I wondered if those classmates who had always sided with Emily and excluded me would still take her side now. No, that's unlikely. Now that they're adults and can see things objectively, they probably come to a different conclusion. But humans tend to side with the winners. So they might still be troubled by the same situations in the harsh reality of society. One thing I can say for sure. Whatever you gain at the expense of others will eventually be lost. Actually, Emily, who once had everyone's attention, is now completely alone. And the debt she racked up will eventually come back to haunt her. This whole incident made me realize that, after everything settled down, I was chosen as my father's successor. Now, I'm working hard, learning from him. By the way, my brother got married. He tied the knot with his longtime girlfriend, who is a bit older than him. My sister-in-law, who became part of the family through my brother, doted on me just as much as he did. I guess they're what you'd call a match made in heaven. She's as kind as my brother. And he's as righteous as she is. Being with them made me feel like I'm with my own flesh and blood. It's so comforting. Then there's Mike. I heard he got fired from his job, divorced Emily, and now he's holed up back at his parents' house. He seems to be looking for work, but I guess the pride that stuck with him from his past life is making it hard for him to land anything. He was treated too well in the past. I think he can't afford to be choosy about jobs now. His parents are pretty fed up with the situation, too. That's what one of his former colleagues told me. And Emily. I don't know anything about her. She and her family just vanished from our hometown one day. When I went to where her house used to be, it had been cleared out and there was a for sale sign posted. None of the old classmates knew the details either. But honestly, I think it's better this way. No need to go through that kind of pain again. I probably won't ever see her again. And that thought alone lightens my heart. My brother and his wife seem so happy. Even though they've been together for a long time, they still have that new love sparkle. Seeing them makes me miss having someone close. But after everything with Mike, I can't bring myself to be positive about new love or marriage. Yet I hope to someday find someone who cares for me mutually and to have a peaceful family. This wish keeps nudging at me, tucked away in a corner of my heart. My family has always been there for me, even when I was excluded and sad as a child. If I ever become a mother, I want to build a warm home like the one my parents made for us. I feel a deep gratitude for them now. From now on, I'm committed to working hard to become someone who can meet my father's expectations and the kindness of my brother and mother. I've made this promise to myself.